In the wild world of British royalty, where crowns are heavy, robes are plush, and palaces echo with secrets, it's hard not to wonder about the intimate escapades of kings and queens. The court's sensual subtext, often glossed over by official historians, offers a titillating peek into the human side of these lofty figures. From Henry VIII's notorious bed-hopping to Queen Victoria's passionate, albeit discreet, marital bliss, each monarch's private life reveals a saga of desire, scandal, and occasionally love. So, today on Weird History, we'll embark on a journey through the centuries, exploring the sex lives of the British monarchy. But before we get too far under the sheets, make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date on all the weird history we can find. After that, leave us a comment and let us know what romantic history you want to hear about. All right, royal subjects, heavy is the bed that wears the crown. Queen Victoria, the literal namesake of Victorian values, is a leader we often imagine as extremely buttoned up, with everything covered in a thick layer of royal propriety. But behind the stern facade of Britain's longest reigning queen was a woman of intense passion and fervent love for her husband, Prince Albert. Their marriage, often touted as the zenith of Victorian virtue, was anything but frigid. Victoria's diary entries, penned with the fervor of a romance novel, reveal a deeply affectionate relationship. On their wedding night, she wrote with breathless excitement, "I never spent such an evening. My dearest, dear Albert. His excessive love and affection gave me feelings of heavenly love and happiness I never could have hoped to have felt before." Whew! Did it suddenly get way hotter in here? The Queen's openness about her marital bliss was a stark contrast to the era's public prudishness. While the court upheld an image of stern morality, the royal bedchambers told a different story. Victoria and Albert's union was not just a political alliance, but also one of love, filled with intimate moments that defied the era's stiff upper lip stereotype. When Victoria first laid eyes on Albert in his white cashmere breeches, with nothing underneath, her heart, it seems, skipped a royal beat. Their love, far from diminishing with age, continued to flourish, much to the consternation of her prudish advisors. "Am I not to have any more fun in bed?" she lamented at the prospect of curbing her marital joys. Yet, for all their private passion, the Victorian court was a bastion of repression. Homosexual acts were criminalized in 1885, and the mere notion of women finding other women attractive was, according to an infamous urban myth, beyond the Queen's comprehension. It's a wild juxtaposition, a queen who relished her own marital pleasures presiding over a society that shunned and condemned anyone deemed deviant. King George III, remembered for his bouts of madness and losing the American colonies, led an uneventful private life compared to his more flamboyant predecessors. George's reign was marked by an emphasis on piety and virtue, and his personal life mirrored this public image. Married to Princess Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, George was a devoted husband. Their union produced an impressive 15 children, and remarkably for the time, George never took a mistress. Seems like a low bar to clear, but it was a stark contrast to the earlier and even later courts. Yet George's personal virtues were not enough to stave off his mental decline. His later years were marred by episodes of insanity, likely exacerbated by arsenic poisoning, though doctors Ida McAlpine and Richard Hunter contend it was a simple case of porphyria, a condition that affects the skin and nervous system. Even so, his dedication to his wife and children remained unwavering, painting a picture of a monarch whose greatest battles were fought not on the fields of war, but within the confines of his mind. Charles II, known as the Merry Monarch, reigned over a veritable carnival of hedonism and debauchery. After years of puritanical repression under Oliver Cromwell, Charles's return to the throne in 1660 brought with it a renaissance of revelry. Charles's court was a playground of pleasures, with mistresses and illegitimates abound. His most notorious paramour, Barbara Villiers, was a woman of great beauty, enormously vivacious and ravenous, according to the Bishop of Salisbury. Villiers bore him 6 children, and her influence at court was as immense as her allure. Charles's laissez-faire attitude toward affairs also extended to his favorite actress, Nell Gwynn, whose wit and charm kept the court entertained both on and off the stage. Amidst this bacchanalia, one figure stands out, a doctor known simply as Colonel Condom, the royal protector of pleasure. Yes, Charles's court even boasted the inventor of the condom, ensuring that the merry monarch's escapades were both prolific and, we can hope, somewhat safe. To summarize Charles II's reign, we'll quote noted poet and libertine John Wilmot, 2nd Earl of Rochester. "We have a pretty witty king, whose word no man relies on. He never said a foolish thing, and never did a wise one." King George II presents a curious case of royal romance. Passionately in love with his wife, Queen Caroline, George also maintained a long-term mistress, Henrietta Howard. Caroline, known for her wit and intelligence, was by all accounts the true love of George's life. Their marriage, while politically advantageous, blossomed into a genuine partnership. But Henrietta was a constant presence in their lives. George's affection for her was genuine, though it never eclipsed his devotion to Caroline. Henrietta's intelligence and wit earned her the respect of literary luminaries like Jonathan Swift and Alexander Pope, and her legacy endures in the architecture of Marble Hill House, a Palladian villa built in her honor. This ancient throuple managed to balance George's duties as king, husband, and lover, a testament to the complexities that royal relationships can bring. We too often think of them to be matters of convenience or political standing, a way to bridge nations or mend relationships. But often, the royals just like each other. The medieval court of Edward III, a tapestry of both chivalry and scandal, was a realm where strong-willed women wielded significant influence. Edward's mother, Isabella of France, orchestrated a coup that saw her lover, Roger Mortimer, rise to power, only for young Edward to later overthrow them and assert his rule. Edward's marriage to Philippa of Hainault was one of genuine affection, producing 14 children. However, the king's heart strayed in his later years to Alice Perrers, a vivacious young woman who captivated him. After Philippa's death, Alice's influence at court grew, symbolized by her golden attire and public parades. Edward's court, while often embroiled in power struggles and intrigue, also saw the flourishing of culture. Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, penned shortly after Edward's death, reflects the era's bawdy humor and complex social dynamics. Queen Victoria's son, Edward VII, embodied the spirit of indulgence and excess. Known as Bertie in his youth, Edward spent his days engaging in every pleasure imaginable, from gambling and horse racing to lavish parties and numerous affairs. Edward's marriage to Princess Alexandra of Denmark did little to curb his hedonistic tendencies. His liaisons with various mistresses, including the infamous Nellie Clifton, were the stuff of tabloid fodder. Even as king, Edward's scandals continued, though they did little to diminish his popularity. His charm and wit endeared him to the public, and his reign, though short, was marked by a return to the splendor and opulence of the monarchy. In many ways, Edward was the quintessential playboy, his life a series of escapades and extravagances that commanded the affection of his subjects. So, without Edward VII, there's no Bruce Wayne? I think we need to go deeper. No discussion of royal romances would be complete without Henry VIII, the monarch whose matrimonial maneuvers reshaped the entire English court. Henry's court was a microcosm of his desires, a world where affairs and intrigues flourished, provided they didn't impede the king's own ambitions. Henry's 6 marriages, each more tumultuous than the last, were accompanied by a series of mistresses who bore him illegitimate children. His affair with Mary Boleyn, sister to the ill-fated Anne Boleyn, was just one of the many entanglements that defined his reign. The king's pursuit of Anne Boleyn led to a seismic shift in English history, resulting in the break from the Catholic Church and the establishment of the Church of England. Henry's court was a dangerous place for those who crossed him. Noblemen and courtiers, once favored, could find themselves disgraced, or worse, executed if they fell out of the king's favor. Yet amidst this, or because of this, treacherous landscape, Henry's passions left an indelible mark on the annals of history and pop culture, including the popular Broadway musical, Six, which takes on the monarchy, feminism, and historical reframing through some catchy-ass pop tunes. George I's court was a curious blend of German efficiency and English skepticism. As the first monarch of the House of Hanover, George's arrival in England was met with suspicion and intrigue. His marriage to Sophia Dorothea of Celle was a disaster, resulting both in her imprisonment and George's affair with the Duchess of Kendal. Jeez, insult to injury. George's mistresses wielded significant influence, and his court was rife with gossip and scandal. Yet George's stoic demeanor and focus on governance helped him navigate the treacherous waters of English politics. His legacy, though overshadowed by his son's more flamboyant reign, set the stage for the Hanoverian dynasty's stability and prosperity. From passionate marriages to scandalous love affairs, the private lives of British monarchs have shaped the course of history. These stories of love and lust, set against the backdrop of political intrigue and societal change, remind us that beneath the crowns and titles, kings and queens are driven by the same desires and follies that define the human experience. So, what do you think? Which royal court would you want to party in? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.